fascinated, right? I mean, I know my mother was. She was just like, agape,
I don't get that joy.
mouth open, like, wow, I can't believe that, you made that. And they'll do the same thing. People do that. They get really amazed by this. So when you make 20 of these and you put them all over a cake, they look pretty darn good. They look convincing. We can make roses a lot of different ways as well. We don't have to make them out of marzipan. We can make them out of a lot of different materials. We could even pipe roses with buttercream. And they're convincing. How many of you have seen the roses piped on a cake, maybe like Walmart or things like that? Are they convincing? Huh?
That's what you need to do that.
Oh yeah? I mean, is that are they reasonably convincing? Yeah, they're reasonable. Most people would say they look pretty good, So you're creating an illusion. And the illusion, how good you make the illusion will depend on, that'll determine what people think of you as a master or not, When we saw Ron Ben Israel doing those big rose cakes and things like that, I mean, he's clearly the master, right? He makes realism to a point where it's really hard to tell. I mean, but he's that good. And that's why he's paid the big bucks to make cakes for Martha Stewart and other prominent celebrities. They all love his work. And he does that. He creates that magic.
So, can we eat this?
Yes, you can. It's fully edible.
Yeah.
It has a little bit of a funny texture because it is remember it's nut paste, right? So it's like it's like a coarse almond butter, It's like that kind of a thing. So if you think of it that way, you think, well, what would happen if I tried to make, a rose out of coarse peanut butter? You get, a similar product. Except peanuts, I think, have a little more oil in them than almonds do. So that's one thing that the morning class commented on, was how the texture was in their mouth, I think, more than the flavor. It's generally sweet. You really can't tell necessarily that they're almonds because they're not roasted. They're just blanched almonds. If they roasted them, they'd have a roasted flavor. And that's not a neutral enough flavor for most people when they're doing it for pastry work. So they generally go blanched to keep the flavor mild. All right, 5 more petals. Now, you could leave this rose just like it is. This is what I would call a rose bud. I sometimes refer to this as a 1-3 because you did 1 and then 3. But when we get to the next level, we take it to a 1-3-5. It starts to really look like a rose. The other thing to consider, though, is it also gets much heavier. You got a lot more material on there. So from there, I'm going to overlap on the joints where the two intersect. So I'm going to go ahead and put this first petal right about the same height as the others.
So you're actually starting over then on the outside instead of layering on the inside like before? Like with that one you're putting it?
Yes.
Yeah, I'll leave this one open though. I'm gonna still...
If you keep building onto it, do you switch back and forth like each layer then?
If I keep going, if I did, let's say, a 1-3-5-7, I went with 7 on the next one, I would do the same thing. I would still follow these joints. The petals might get a little more narrow, but they're going to cover the joints and overlap. So everything's kind of overlapping. One of the reasons roses are built this way is to be waterproof. That protects the petals and the stamens on the inside. And to a plant, remember, this is their ovary, right? This is the ovary of the plant. So they have to take good care of it because this is what makes them reproduce. So they have to be very careful that they don't let the weather or Mother Nature destroy them. So this overlapping is just imitating, the plant itself. But yeah, I'll follow the same procedure as I go around.
You're doing like half it to the previous one?
Yeah, roughly around half. Give or take. The reason I do that right now is I'm looking at it saying I've got to get 5 all the way around here. and make them nice and even. If I go all the way around and overlap, it's going to look it's going to look unnatural. So I don't want it to look unnatural. I want to try to keep that realism going as much as I possibly can. Alright, so there's 3. I don't know about you, but I can see this one moving, so I'm kind of in a hurry to get this next one on. I want to place them so that they're going to look nice and even and nice and realistic, but at the same time I also am keenly aware of a lot of little things here, trying to make sure that they're going to make it around just right distance, and they're also going to not stick to things that I don't want them to stick to just yet. That last one is going to go in here on the far side.
We're going to be doing that too. This one also, here, just wants to be cool. The 5 musketeers.
To get these to look more realistic, of course, I'm going over here and causing the ends, the tips, to bend over just a little bit to give them some realistic appearance. This particular pedal I made a little too thin, and you notice how it's splaying over really hard. So what I'm doing is I'm giving it a gentle push here to cause it to stick to its neighbor. If it sticks to its neighbor, which is stiffer and harder, thicker, it can what do you call it? Hold it up, so it can help support it. Oh, come on, you guys. What are we, in 3rd grade?
Terry started it, I think. I did not laugh. That one totally stayed inside. That was definitely. I'm sure so mature though, and I'm so glad it's not just me. I think harder, stiffer. This one's such good lip because it's so small.
Now, does that look like a rose? Well, the bottom doesn't. What are we going to do about that?
Chop it off.
We have to chop it off, and gently. What we have to do is go around and around here, and we just have to work it down and pinch, because we don't want to do it too fast, otherwise it'll just look like a chop off, just nice and flat. I want to kind of get this to come off as a sort of a rounded bottom, just like a natural rose would be.
I like the spell.
And when I go to place this down, I've got this little bottom on here. What I can do is I can gently try to press the bottom into being flat enough to hold its own weight. Now, if I really need to do something, I can carefully hold it and try to press it down. But it's really oily and slippery right now.
Can you use the bowl of the spoon to do it?
Might be able to. For now, at least, it can hold it in place.
Does it get hard?
It eventually does. It does firm up eventually.
Okay.
It will take a while. The great thing about marzipan that I like is that it doesn't get hard very fast. It will stay fairly soft for a long period of time. Now I'm going to paste this side down. See if that'll just hold it in place for now. The good thing for beginners on marzipan is that it stays soft for a long time. And the reason why it's good is because you have time to work then. If you have to be in a hurry, who wants to be in a hurry when you're just starting out? You know, it's like hit the ground running. But when you're working with a material that stays pliable for a while, now I'm carefully choosing my words. It makes it easier. You can spend an hour on it, and it won't start cracking on you, getting brittle, things like that.
How long does it handle heat though?
Heat will cause the oil to come out even more. And you'll find that out if you get a piece here. It's fairly
Make it brittle.
you know,